What's up, guys? Welcome to Real Talk Baseball. I am Will Power. I am by myself at the moment, but Javi should be joining me soon. Carlos and Tony are not going to be able to make it tonight, so running solo for now. If you guys are listening, go ahead and post a comment. Let me know that you're there. And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel and go to our Facebook and follow and shoot us some comments and let us know what you think of the show. All right, so first things first, we are going through the injury report. There's a lot of injuries right now, a lot of COVID cases, which we won't really go over the COVID cases because most of those are probably just going to be like a couple days kind of thing. It might be, just precautions and stuff like that. So first things first, Ronald Acuna was held out of the lineup on Wednesday with a sore groin. He did not play Wednesday, and then they did not have a game on Thursday, and he's not in the lineup today. So it doesn't really seem like the manager is too concerned about his injury. So hopefully this is something that maybe he'll just have to rest for a couple days and avoid an IL stint. That's good news for fantasy owners. Next up, we have Clayton Kershaw. Bad news for Clayton Kershaw owners. Kershaw just hit the 15-day IL. Back injury is kind of coming back to haunt him again. We've seen him deal with this back injury for probably about 4 or 5 years now. All started on a plane trip to Japan. I don't know if it was to Japan or on the way back home from Japan, but he said that he actually just slept wrong and ended up hurting his back on the plane. And he's feeling the residual effects, and he's getting older and slower. So just kind of be on the lookout to see what's going on with him in the next week or so. Look for an update this weekend. Dave Roberts should be giving us some kind of details about how long he'll be out. Hopefully it'll just be the minimum 15 days, and he'll miss just 2 starts and then come back and be at 100%. Kershaw even said that he's not feeling great right now, but he is he's hopeful that he can be able to stay on the IL, the minimum, the 15 days. So with Andrew Heaney also on the IL, that kind of puts Dodgers in a little predicament where they're out with two starters. They actually just recalled Garrett Clevenger, who they received in a trade from, was it the Twins? I don't remember who it was from, but as far as I know, he's always been a reliever most of his major league career. He had a few innings pitched last season with the Dodgers, and I don't remember what other team he was with, but he's never been like, a top prospect or anything like that. So I don't think he's like the type of guy that you want to go out and add. But yeah, I don't know if the Dodgers are planning on, making some type of big splash, maybe a trade. I know that the Padres were interested in Frankie Montas before the season started, and now there are no suitors, kind of looking for Frankie Montas. So that's possibly a good one that the Dodgers could trade for, especially because, Trevor Bauer, the whole Trevor Bauer thing's a bust. Now losing Kershaw and Heaney, Dustin May still on the IL. So still remains to be seen what's going on with the Dodgers organization. Next up is Bryce Harper has a small tear in his elbow. Doesn't seem to be really affecting him hitting wise. He still can swing a bat. He's not going to be able to play the field, so he can't throw. But as long as the National League has the DH, I think that's helping him out and stay in the lineup, and it's definitely helping out the Phillies as well. He's been on fire this year. So, hopefully he doesn't have to go on the IL. Next up, White Sox manager Tony La Russa indicates that Lance Lynn is on track for an early June return after he tore something in his knee preseason. Jacob deGrom has started a throwing program from flat ground, but he's still a ways from joining the Mets rotation. That's probably going to be at least 6 weeks out. So look for him closer to like the All-Star break. Jonathan India has resumed baseball activities, including hitting off a tee. So he looks poised to return to the Reds lineup at the end of May or early June. So that's good for fantasy owners. 2 weeks from now is about when we can kind of predict that we'll see Jonathan India suiting up again. Next up is Blake Snell. Blake Snell is on his way back to the major leagues after missing a pretty significant amount of time. He actually just had a rehab start. I believe it was his third rehab start. Allowed 3 hits, no walks, and 7 strikeouts in 5 innings in his last AAA outing. So actually, they're talking about Blake Snell being back in the starting rotation starting next week. So he should be able to make his next start, joining the rotation. So that kind of brings up the question with Mckenzie Gore. What's going on with Mckenzie Gore? Because actually he's been pretty good this season. First kind of shot at the majors, and it's about time because he's been the top pitching prospect in baseball for a while now. And the Padres gave him a shot mainly because of all their injuries that they had, but they still have Nick Martinez. They have Yu Darvish and the dude that came from the Pirates. I'm totally blanking on his name, but he had the no-hitter last year. So they still have some fixtures in the rotation right now. Joe Musgrove. So my thoughts on Mckenzie Gore, I think that they're really going to be careful with this guy because this guy is going to be their future. They're looking at him as a potential ace for the future, and they don't want to wear him out too quick. He's been in the minor leagues for a while, and looking for him to stay in the rotation and pitch close to 180 to 200 innings. That's asking a lot for a guy that's never done that before. So I am actually predicting that he's going to go into the bullpen for at least a month or two and kind of relax his arm a little bit, and probably closer to the playoffs, we'll see him getting a couple spot starts kind of here and there, especially with, Darvish. He's the type of pitcher that gets injured somewhat often. And Blake Snell, we've seen him get injured somewhat often in the last few years. So I would definitely not drop Mckenzie Gore. I think that you should just kind of monitor him, and especially in a points league. In a categories league, I don't see the need to keep him around because he's not going to be a main part of the rotation, I think. But in a points league, if you have an RP spot, he will gain that RP eligibility once they move him to the bullpen after he throws, I want to say it's 10 innings. Go ahead and hold on to him. Guys like that, he's probably going to be mid-relief and pitch, 2-3 innings at a time. So that's still somewhat valuable. Next up, we have Jack Flaherty threw a bullpen session on Wednesday, and he looks to join the Cardinals rotation sometime in June, barring any setbacks. So that's good news for fantasy owners that have been holding on to him in an IL slot. I've actually been trying to trade for him because I know he's coming back soon, but guys aren't budging. So he's the type of pitcher that can really make an impact on your fantasy league. He could be a game changer. So if you can, I would definitely buy Jack Flaherty. For fantasy owners that are holding on to him, good luck. Hopefully he doesn't re-injure himself. It was a shoulder injury. That's kind of scary for pitchers. So just kind of keep an eye on him. And, if he does go back on the IL, we're always here for you guys. If you have any questions about, which pitchers to add, if you need to move someone to the IL. Next up on our list is Shane Baz. He's scheduled to face live hitters on Monday and should be back in the Rays rotation within the next month. Mitch Garver was placed on the 10-day IL with a right forearm sprain. So if you're looking for a catcher to add, I would recommend Alejandro Kirk. Usually I don't like to give recommendations for guys that are 70% owned or more. Alejandro Kirk is, I believe he's at 58%, if I remember correctly, on Yahoo. So he's pretty available in most leagues except for deeper leagues. So Alejandro Kirk, keep that in mind if you had to put Mitch Garver in your IL. Anthony Descalfani is cleared for mound work. He should rejoin the Giants rotation within the next 2 to 3 weeks. The Guardians placed Josh Naylor on the COVID IL. This guy, I have him in 3 of my leagues, and this guy has just been tearing it up. So if you have him, don't drop him. He's should be eligible at first and outfield. At least he is in Yahoo. I'm not sure about other sites, but he's definitely the type of player that you want, especially in a points league. Categories league, because of the team he's on, they don't score as many runs as a lot of other teams, but he definitely scores a lot of points. So definitely hold on to him, move him into an IL slot if you have it. If not, it's a tough one. I would try to hold on to him as long as I can, at least until there's like a clear return date for him. If it seems like he actually is feeling symptoms and he's going to be out for a while, then maybe you could drop him and hopefully no one else has an IL slot that they can slot him into. I would definitely pick him up if he was available. But we'll see. Maybe, there's been false positives. There's been times where, they just have to be the minimum 5 days. So he won't even have to stay on the COVID IL for very long. He'll miss less than a week of baseball. And hopefully he'll come back and just continue to rake. Next up, we have Lance Mccullers is ramping up his intensity while throwing. He should be ready for mound work in the next couple of weeks. If he's not even throwing off of a mound yet, we're still looking at least a month away. So look for him to come back closer around the All-Star break. And last, we have Hingen Ryu will be activated from the IL tomorrow, Saturday, after missing the last month. He hasn't been that good this season, but he is a former top pitcher. And, he plays on a really good team with really good run support. So I don't know if I would start him just yet. If you're desperate for points and, at the end of the week and you need another starter, go ahead and start him. If not, I would sit him at least for this next start. And that's about it for the news and notes. Hobby should be joining us soon. What else did I have? I have a little lineup that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. We'll go with the two-star pitchers later on, just so I can ask Javi what he thinks about the list that we have. I asked him to pick a couple, 3 of the two-star pitchers for next week and give them to me in order which he would like to add them to his lineup. I was talking about a hitter to add, and yesterday going over this, the rundown of the podcast, I was looking to talk about Josh Naylor. And Josh Naylor has been on fire, as I said, just a couple minutes ago. But unfortunately, because he's on the COVID IL, we don't know what's going on after this weekend. I kind of changed it up a little bit, and I'm actually going to change the hitter to add to Juan Yepez. So Juan Yepez is he's on the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm going to pull him up really quick so that way I can have his numbers in front of me. I actually have him in 2 of my leagues also. So he's eligible at first and third base. He's been playing every day. Has multi-hit games in 5 of the last 7. Has 2 home runs in the last 4 games. Batting middle of the lineup in a pretty loaded Cardinals lineup. So he's a pretty decent one, especially if you had Josh Naylor and he was in your first base spot. Juan Yepez is also first base eligible, so he's a good one that you can add and just slot him into there. There's a lot of first basemen that are kind of just struggling or have gotten injured. Reds first baseman Joey Votto is on the COVID IL, and even before that, he was kind of just playing like trash. So if Juan Yepez is available in your league, his roster rate actually went up 30% in the last week. He's up to 42% in Yahoo. So hopefully you can get him before anyone else has a chance. A pitcher to add for this weekend, just as a streamer, I really like Austin Gomber. He is going to be facing the Kansas City Royals at home. Oh, let's get Javi in here.
What's up?
What's up? How's it going?
Yeah, a little late to the show.
That's all right. I'm digging that hat, Doug.
Hey, don't mind the plushies in the back, right?
I was about to say I'm digging that hat, but not as much as I like that Mickey Mouse in the back right there.
Yeah. What's going on, bro?
Same-ish, different day. I'm just trying to get by through life and watch some baseball and have some fun while I'm at it. So I already kind of went over the injury report. I was saving the 2-star pitchers for later. I asked you if you had a hitter to add. Any player come to mind when you're thinking about a hitter to add for this week?
As far as hitters, I've my squad on my fantasy baseball have been pretty good, so I haven't really
Hell
looked
yeah,
into it.
you're in
But
first place, bro.
but yeah, you know what? I have a feeling that I might end up losing though, because I don't know. His pitching looks pretty stacked coming up. So
Oh no way, dude. No,
yeah,
I think you're projected to win by like 150 points.
yeah, but fantasy baseball.
Yeah, you never know, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I did a little research, and for those that are struggling to find hitting on their team, um, I know this guy is owned in maybe a little bit over half of Yahoo leagues, but he's been pretty hot lately. Andres Jimenez from the
Mm.
Guardians. Guardians, man, that's weird.
Is he on the Guardians? I thought he was on the
Is he?
Orioles.
Oh, damn.
Let's see.
I could, see. I haven't really paid attention, I guess. I
You
think
said
he's
Andre?
Andres Jimenez.
Oh yeah, you're right. He is on the
Guardians,
Indians.
right?
Oh,
Okay.
the Guardians. I'm
I
sorry.
thought I saw those colors on his uniform. But anyways, I know he's owned in I think 51% on
Yeah,
Yahoo.
his roster rate is up 15% from last week.
Yeah. So I mean, I chose him because he's been hot lately. He's owned a little bit over half, but the past 2 weeks he's hitting 357 with 2 home runs and 11 RBIs.
And a stolen
Um,
base.
yeah, and exactly, and a stolen base.
Categories
Um,
leagues, stolen bases are really hard to come by. So if you can
yeah,
find a guy that's hitting like this and you can get a couple of stolen bases along the way, that's
yeah.
great,
I read he's into like in the fourth percentile as far as speed goes in MLB, so
Wow.
that's pretty up there, man.
Hell yeah.
And then I'm looking at Jesus Aguilar, 32% owned past 2 weeks, hitting 327, 2 home runs, 9 RBIs. If you need a good source of power, this guy's got a big bat.
Marlins
Um,
still, right?
yeah, I believe so. Yeah. So, if you need pop on your squad, he's one of those guys that can definitely give you that kind of value. Um, but yeah, those are the two guys that I kind of see, can help you out if you're in need of hitting, or like you said, like categories league with Andres. Those are two guys that I would look at
Yeah,
definitely.
especially for Carlos Correa owners and maybe even Jonathan India owners because uh, what's his name again?
Aguilar or Jimenez.
Jimenez. Andres Jimenez is eligible at second base and shortstop. So
There you
if you
go.
need a middle infielder, if you need a second base or shortstop, that's a really good one. The one that I actually recommended right before you joined was Juan Yepez
Oh yeah,
from the Cardinals.
the
He has
Cardinals.
first base and third base eligibility. And
Hmm.
honestly, I'm other than catcher, I think first base and third base are like the weakest positions in baseball
Yeah,
right now. It's like
yeah,
everywhere else is just loaded, But
yeah,
first base, there's so many guys that just have not been up to par, up to what you were expecting from them.
yeah,
Yuli Gurriel, Joey Votto,
yeah. All these guys
Max
struggling.
Muncy.
Yep.
There's a lot of hitters that are just struggling right now. And third base, kind of going into the season this year, we already knew that there were a lot of third basemen that just the caliber
Yeah.
of third base is not what it used to be like 2, 3 years ago.
Yeah, it goes the same for first too. I remember there used
Yeah,
to be
definitely.
a
It
ton
used
of
to be
first
very
basemen.
deep, very
Yeah.
deep. It was like almost every team had a good, solid first baseman. So, you had 20 first basemen that you could choose from and kind of
Hmm.
spread it out throughout your fantasy league. And
Yeah.
now it's like if you don't have like the top 5 or 6, you
Yeah.
kind of just are settling.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
drafted Joey Votto in 2 of my leagues, and I ended up dropping him in both leagues. And I keep on hearing from the experts like, can't drop Joey Votto. You just got to wait it out. You just got to wait it out. But bro, I need to win,
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and
Sometimes
I'm
you
not going
can't.
to hold on to a 38-year-old first baseman that
Exactly.
has been struggling. He's been up and down for the past like 3 years now.
Yeah.
He's the type of batter that's always tinkering with his swing.
Hmm.
And something happened between last year and this year. He actually did say that he's selling out for power. He's trying to hit the ball harder than ever.
That might be
And
the
the
issue.
batting average is definitely suffering for it. So
Yeah.
maybe he just needs to go back to old Joey Votto and just kind of choke up on the bat and just make solid contact.
Just play for contact.
Yeah,
Small
exactly.
ball.
And
That's
especially
the way
like
to go.
in this year with the ball, we don't have
Hmm.
the juice ball anymore.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the ball now is a little bit softer. Even pitchers have said that it feels a little weird. So there's guys that are hitting the ball 115 miles an hour, and
And
it's
it's not
just
even
not
going out the
leaving the
yard.
yard.
Yep. Yeah.
We've
It's
seen that
crazy.
in multiple stadiums with guys that usually hit home runs, and then there's even been players that have come out after the game and in an interview have said, like, I crushed that ball and it just died.
Yeah.
You know,
That's different, man. Baseball
even
is a
in
little different
Colorado,
now.
everyone knows that the thin air, the balls just travel just so much farther and easier through the air. But that really hasn't been the case as much as it has been in previous seasons.
Yeah.
This year the ball is just different. So, what do you have to do as baseball players? You're constantly adjusting, and
Yeah.
I think the adjustment has to be just make solid contact. Don't try to go yard anymore because more than likely it's not gonna go out. And if you're hitting to
Yeah. I
contact
agree.
and you're just putting the ball in play more often, just get on base. Just like Billy
Yeah.
Beane said in the movie Moneyball. I just want guys to
Yeah.
get on base, and
Yeah.
maybe we just need to get back
I
to
mean,
small ball.
you gotta think about your team instead of thinking about your stats
Yeah,
sometimes.
like Carlos always
And putting
says, play for the team, play for the name on the front, not the name on the back.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I get you, man. It's baseball, taking a little turn recently. So yeah, those are the guys that I just kind of chose. If you're in need of somebody on your squad, if you're struggling in those departments.
All right, and I also asked you for a pitcher to add. So either one that maybe you can think of that can stay in your lineup, or maybe just a weekend streamer, or maybe a guy that has two starts for next week. You go ahead and if you can relay, whatever your thoughts are, and I will be right back.
Okay, so as far as pitchers to add, um, I actually got two guys. One plays for the Twins, Josh Winder, 41% owned. Um, he has a 2-1 win loss record, 2.45 ERA, 0.97 WHIP with 22 Ks, 4 walks in 6 games played. He recently had a crappy game. He played the Astros, which are kind of hot right now. But other than that, he's been pretty consistent. And then if you think about it,
You're talking about
Paddock
Winder?
just hit yeah, he's 41% owned, and then
I like Winder.
I was
I like
saying,
Winder a lot.
yeah, yeah. I didn't really hear about him until he actually got a start. I forgot, maybe like 2 weeks ago. But he's been pretty consistent. And then Paddock just hit the IL, so this might be like his time to shine, so he could stay in the rotation. Maybe they were going to keep him in the rotation, but I'm thinking the Twins can get a better look at him. Um, right now that Paddock is injured. Um, so he was one, and then I kind of went a little extra and got another guy, Martin Perez from the
Oh yeah.
Rangers.
Bad matchups
Yeah,
next week, but he's been
yo,
solid.
yeah, and it's crazy because Texas is, they got a solid team. They're not doing too great, and he's pretty much caught me out surprised because every year he's been very up and down. And then even this year, his win loss record kind of shows it, 1-2, but his ERA is 2.10. He's got a 0.99 whip, 26 Ks, and 9 walks in 6 games. And his past 2 weeks have been freaking solid. 0.89 ERA, 14 strikeouts. And he's got some solid matchups coming up to where, hey, it might be, a sign of things to come with this guy. Who knows?
And
Every year is up and down with him.
Martin Perez also has RP eligibility. So
Yeah. Yep.
that I love having guys in my RP spot that are going to
Yeah.
go 6 innings every time they go out.
Yeah.
It's what we call a spark, a starting pitcher and a relief pitcher. And
Yeah. Yeah.
when you have guys like that, you can rely on them to get 15, 20 points in a week. That they're going to throw probably 5 or 6 innings, unless they just get rocked, versus a reliever that might go 2 or 3 innings for the week, and maybe they'll get the save, maybe they'll get the hold, which, counts for a little bit of points. But if you can get a solid starting pitcher that has that relief pitcher eligibility, that's golden right there. I actually have Martin Perez in our league, and he's in my RP spot. So
there you go. Yep.
I have him, and then I have Clay Holmes from the Yankees.
Oh, the Yankees.
So, yeah, so I do want to try to trade for another pitcher that has that RP eligibility. I really wanted Ranger Suarez kind of in the beginning of the year, but now seeing how he's been this season, I'm kind of glad that I didn't take him in our league. I do have him in another league of mine, which it's a keeper league. So that one's a little different. There's definitely no chance of me dropping Ranger Suarez because I see him as a big asset in the future. And if I decide to keep him, I think I got him for pretty cheap. I want to say I got him for like $9, maybe $10. And every year it goes up 10%. So so next year it'll be
cheap.
$11.
Dual eligibility. That's good.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think he'll have that RP eligibility anymore after this season because he's in their starting rotation. Unless they start to limit his innings towards the end of the season, which I don't think they will. Just seeing how good he was last year, his ERA was under 2, pretty good. Strikeout rate, it was 1 strikeout per inning, I think, so a little above 9. I think I came up on that one for only $10.
Yeah, definitely.
We shall see. We shall see.
Yeah.
All right. The pitcher that I gave right before you got on was Austin Gomber. So Austin Gomber, last year, I remember we talked about this guy so much, and he was going out there and he was throwing really good games against really good teams, against the Dodgers, against the Yankees, against the Astros. And this season, he's ERA is at 4.36, WHIP is at 1.24, so he's not doing as well as everyone would hope. But he does have the Kansas City Royals on Sunday. So if you guys are looking for a weekend streamer, it's a pretty good team to put him against, especially with like a struggling Whit Maryfield. The Royals just lost Mondesi for the season.
Yep.
So and Salvador Perez isn't hitting as well as everyone thought he was going to be. He's the number 1 catcher going into this season, and he hasn't really been showing why he deserved to be drafted number 1 at the catcher spot. So that was one of the pitchers that I wanted to talk about. And also I have Brad Keller. Brad Keller has a 2.70 ERA. His expected ERA is a little bit higher. It's a 3.32, but that's okay. 3.32 is a great ERA to keep in your rotation in your fantasy lineup. If you can have anything under 3.50, I feel like that's great. More than a strikeout per inning. His K percentage is actually 15.5, so he's getting about 15 strikeouts per 9 innings. Let's see. His average exit velocity against is only 89 miles an hour. So he's holding down the hard contact pretty well against most teams. Barrel percentage is down to 7.2. Last year he was up at 10.9. So he's limiting a lot of the hard contact. So that's what you want to see, in these pitchers, either limiting hard contact, getting the ball on the ground or popping up, or strikeouts, high strikeouts. And Brad Keller is actually doing both. That 2.70 ERA is really it sticks out to me. And then next week he actually has some pretty good matchups. He's a 2-star pitcher. He's versus the White Sox, who are struggling a lot, and versus Minnesota, who's also struggling.
Right on. Oh, that's good. I like that.
I am going to check his availability real quick. He is 31% rostered in Yahoo, so he's definitely widely available. I don't think he's available in our league because the guys in our league are on top of it. There's like no pitching out there unless you get lucky, like guys with like Winder, a couple other guys that maybe you just looked at like as a streamer, and you have Mitch.
No, that's the other guy. Yeah. I don't even want to know how he's doing right now.
See, and Mitch Keller is the one that everyone, coming into the season thought was going to be doing what Brad Keller's doing right now. No one expected this from Brad Keller, but hey, ride this streak as long as you can, and hopefully, if he stays healthy, maybe he'll just he'll keep that low ERA and high strikeout rate and low contact rate for the rest of the season.
It's looking like it's becoming more of a pitcher's league now because of the things that are going on with the ball. Even though I know the ball is affecting a lot of pitchers as well, but if a lot of balls are being kept inside the yard, as a pitcher, that's good.
I think it's easier to adjust as a pitcher instead of a hitter when the ball changes. For a pitcher, the ball may move a little bit different, but it's more about how it feels in your hand. And the more you feel that ball in the hand, the more comfortable you get with it. But with this ball, past the juice ball era, with this new ball now for hitters, you can hit it as hard as you want, and you're still going to have crappy results. So I think the game has changed with this new ball, and I think hitters really have to start adjusting to that the same way that pitchers have.
Right.
And they're talking about with the humidity starting to rise and the heat starting to rise in most states that the ball is going to start traveling a little bit better through the air. But I don't know, that I feel like that's just kind of like what they think is going to happen. You don't really know until you know. So
exactly.
We'll see, like, mid-June when the heat really starts to rise, like how these hitters are really doing.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So did you have any other pitchers or hitters you want to talk about, or you want to go into the 2-star pitchers?
No, those are the two guys that, I think if you're struggling to find any kind of pitching, especially, I'm thinking if you're like in a 10-team league, you should be able to find these guys. If you're, in a 12 to 16 like we are, you probably got guys that are, very aware of what's going on, and they're probably scooped up already. But if you're in need of it, and they're out there, scoop them up, man.
One thing I kind of regret about the settings about our league this season, I think we don't have enough bench spots. I think we have only four bench spots, and I think 5 would have been better because there's a lot of good players out there that I would love to pick up. I just don't have anyone to drop, dude. Like, all right, I'm gonna tell you my lineup real quick, and you tell me like who I should drop right now. All right.
All right.
Catcher, I got Keibert Ruiz, DJ LeMahieu, Whit Maryfield, Manny Machado, Brendan Rodgers, Nolan Arenado, Ketel Marte, Kyle Tucker, Tyler O'Neill, Julio Rodriguez, Wilmer Flores, and Cody Bellinger. And then my IL, I have Josh Naylor, Carlos Correa, Eddie Rosario, and then I have my prospect stash, Nolan Gorman. So I don't know. Any of those hitters kind of like speak to you where you can easily just drop that guy?
If it were any other season, probably Wilmer, but he's hot. He's been hot.
He's super hot right now.
And if you drop him, then I mean, if you're in a deep league, somebody's gonna scoop him up right off the bat.
Yeah, definitely.
So from everybody that you named, it's pretty tough to drop anybody.
See, and I would love to drop Brendan Rodgers right now, but my problem is Carlos Correa is on my IL, and I don't have another shortstop. He is my only shortstop in my lineup. So
Right.
If I drop him, I just have to pick up another shortstop. And I'm really
Yeah.
looking for streaming pitchers either for this weekend. I wanted to pick up Gomber, but I don't have the roster space for him. And then my pitchers, I have Josiah Gray, Kyle Gibson, Martin Perez, Tyler Malley, Corbin Burns, Mckenzie Gore. I just picked up Jake Junis just because I put Naylor in my IL. So I actually had one spot where I could have
Extra
picked up
spot.
someone. And he's
Yeah.
starting tomorrow against St. Louis. Jose Barrios, Luis Castillo, and Merrill Kelly. So I don't know. Oh man, I should have sit Josiah Gray. I was so close to sitting him, man. He just allowed 5 runs in the first 2 innings.
Oh, ouch. He's
Yeah,
been good though, man.
he's
Like,
been good, but it's like I always tell myself, trust your lineup. You have these guys for a reason. If it's a guy that you're not going to drop, just go ahead and play him. And that one came out to bite me in the ass. I also have Kyle Gibson against the Dodgers tonight at Dodger Stadium. So now it's
that
like,
game was
dude,
crazy yesterday, man.
I wish I could have watched it, dude, but it's so late for me.
No, I didn't watch it. It's just I was at work, and we live out in Philly, so some dude fucking rolls up on his lift, and he's like, "Hey, Phillies are playing the Dodgers, huh?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." Like, I know they're getting their butt whooped. It's like, I think it was like 7-1, right? And then, I go on one of my breaks, and I pull down my notifications on my phone, and I'm like, "What? They freaking tied it!" And then I go, "Hey, bro, what happened?" But unfortunately, they ended up losing. Bullpen kind of took a dump on that one, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But,
One thing that I mentioned earlier before you got on was that Clayton Kershaw just went on the IL,
yeah,
15-day
man.
IL with
He said he doesn't feel great.
No, he said I don't feel great, but he said that he feels like he'll only need the minimum on the IL and he'll come back and feel 100%. And that's great and all, but what do the Dodgers do in the meantime? There's are you frozen on me? Oh no, you were frozen for a second.
Oh my God.
Andrew Heaney's still on the IL, and he's
Yeah.
still a few weeks away. So that's another starter that the Dodgers are out right now. They just recalled Garrett Clevenger, who, as far as I know, he's only been a reliever. So
Yeah.
I don't think that he could really go deep into a game unless he's been pitching deep into games in AAA.
Yeah.
I'm
And
not
then
sure.
they
I don't know
didn't
his.
didn't they called somebody up too, right? They made a spot start. I think it was on Wednesday. Perry or something like that,
That was a
right?
bullpen game.
Yeah,
I
but I'm
think he
saying,
only
like,
went like an inning or
it was
two.
like three. What was it? Was it an inning? I thought he went like
I don't
1 inning.
remember. I don't know. These games are so late for me now, dude. I used to watch the
Yeah,
Dodger games every single night, but
I
I go to
know,
work at
man.
3 o'clock in the morning, and having to stay up until the game starts at 10. That's so late,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, it's crazy.
It's like maybe if I didn't have kids and I could sleep right after I get off of work, I would sleep for like,
Yeah,
I would get my night sleep right after work, basically through the afternoon, and then I would wake up and watch the game, and then go to work.
go to
Because
work.
by the time the game's over, it's like 1 o'clock,
Yeah,
maybe a little bit later, and then I usually wake up at 3 to go to work anyway. So
you'd be straight, man.
yeah, but nope. I got a
Family happens.
5-year-old that's been in and out of the
Life
hospital
happens.
for the last like 3 months and
Yeah, it
trying
sucks,
to get
man.
through life.
Yeah, I feel you.
But oh well. All right, so I did want to talk about Whit Maryfield a little bit. Whit Maryfield is struggling a lot. So he is currently batting 162, a whopping 162
62.
OPS at 412. 412 is what you want the on base percentage to be, not the on base plus slug. And usually he's pretty up there. He's close to the batting title pretty much every year. He's close to 300. Gets a lot of hits. He plays every single day. I think he led the majors in hits the last 3 years. He led the majors in at bats the last 3 years in a row. He's a leadoff, steals bases. He is a little older. I want to say he's in his mid 30s. He's 33.
33. Yeah, 33.
33. And the legs don't work the way they used to when you start to, get on the wrong side of 30. So stolen bases are probably going to start becoming, less and less for him, which is fine in a points league. If you draft him in a categories league and you're hoping for, 30 stolen bases, a 33-year-old that steals 30 bases, those are really hard to come by. So,
Tough.
yeah, that's one that I would kind of stay away from. He doesn't hit the ball that hard, so he's not a home run hitter, especially this year. This year, I don't really know what's going on with him, but when you look at his underlying numbers, his batting average is pretty low. What did I say? 162, but his expected batting average is actually 257. So he seems to be the benefactor of a lot of bad luck. Maybe just hitting the ball hard, but hitting it right to a defender and then getting thrown out, or them just catching the ball. His expected slug is 406, so that's not too bad either for a guy that doesn't hit the ball hard. His career slug is 418, so 406 is not that off from it. His strikeout rate is actually down from last year. Last year, for his career, he has a 15.7% strikeout rate, and this year he's down to 13.5. So he cut his strikeout rate down 2%, which is great. Walks are a little bit down. His career walk rate is 6%, but he's down to 4.8 this year. I don't know what's going on with this guy. It could just be timing where he needs to be either just a little bit later or a little bit sooner, so that way he can get it away from these defenders. But honestly, I think good things are coming for Whit Maryfield. Looking at his expected stats, his barrel percentage is 3.9. His career is 4.3, so he's not off by that much. Exit velocity is good. And, I really don't see anything wrong in the underlying numbers. So underlying numbers really can predict. They can help predict what he's going to do in the future. And, he looks like he's going to have a little bit of a breakout coming out soon. So,
yeah, it's like we were talking about earlier. A lot of these potential all-star players are having a hard time hitting the ball this year. With, maybe like you said, he's, maybe it's just bad luck. Maybe he's got to make some kind of adjustment, with his hitting or something. It's, I want to say, if you're like in a 10-team league, maybe don't panic. You could probably always bench him and pick somebody up, in case he's struggling. If you're in deeper leagues, you definitely don't want to drop him, because who else is out there? You know what I mean? Like I think that's another one of those positions, because he plays second base, right? Second base.
He has second base and outfield eligibility. He was playing the outfield for most of the beginning of the season when Mondesi was healthy, but now that Mondesi's out, they moved over. Is it Nicky Lopez? I think it's Nicky Lopez moved from second base to shortstop, and now Whit Maryfield is predominantly playing second base. So they were saying that when Whit Maryfield was playing the outfield a couple of years ago, that his bat kind of suffered. So they were hoping that the move to second base would help him, increase a little bit. I did notice just a few days ago that maybe it was yesterday. Yesterday he went 1 for 5. The day before he went 3 for 4, and then the day before he went 1 for 4. So he has a modest 3-game hitting streak, and he's playing in Colorado this weekend. So playing in Colorado, even though we mentioned that it's not the same as it has been in the past couple of years, it's still a really good ballpark to hit in.
Yeah.
So this weekend, we'll see what kind of
something. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully he can get that spark going, and kind of just keep on
just ride him out, man.
Keep on heating up, because we've
just
seen
ride
him
him
have
out.
5 hits in the last 3 games. So
I think he'll get out of the slump.
He'll be all right. I'm actually looking to trade Whit Maryfield, and I've been trying to offer him to different people. One guy offered me Charlie Morton straight up, but Charlie Morton isn't pitching very well either right now. So struggling hitter for struggling pitcher, that's fine. But when you're doing like a struggling Whit Merrifield against a struggling Charlie Morton, I don't like that at all. So
I'd rather have
I'm
a stronger
actually trying
Whit.
to go for Brandon Woodruff. I think that Whit Maryfield for Brandon Woodruff is actually a really good trade.
Yeah.
They're both projected about the same amount of points, and it really just depends on if that person is willing to give up one of their pitchers.
Right. Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
fine.
for Whit Maryfield owners, I'd say don't panic. Just write it out. If you have space on your bench, just bench him for now, not this weekend since he's playing in Colorado.
Yeah.
But if he starts to heat up, go ahead and slot him in your lineup every day. He does have that dual eligibility, second base and outfield, which is great. So and he will keep it next year because he played most of the outfield this year so far, just until recently. So he should definitely keep that eligibility next year. And then the next guy that I wanted to talk about that I texted you earlier was Robbie Ray, because Robbie Ray, he's just last year he was great. The year before he was great, and then this year he's just struggling so bad. He has a
Yeah.
4.22 ERA, which is a little bit higher than his season ERA. What was it last year? Last year he had 284 ERA. Was last year the Cy Young year? Last year was the
Oh,
Cy Young year, right?
yeah.
And
Yep.
that was with
Yep.
Toronto. And
That's Toronto, though.
now,
With the Mariners,
and
it's a little different. You don't have that big lineup behind you, to help
right.
you out with the run.
And they were also
But
playing in Buffalo last year, right? Weren't they playing in Buffalo? They
oh,
weren't even
right,
playing in Canada, so that I
yeah,
think that ballpark is actually more of a hitter's ballpark than the Toronto ballpark is, just because of like
yeah,
the Canadian air kind of like matches like a Coors Field effect. But
yeah,
Toronto knows how to handle their pitchers, which kind of gives me hope for Jose Barrios too. So hopefully
yeah.
he'll
Because you
turn
got
things
you got
around.
Barrios, right? Well, he had a
I
good
do,
he had a
yes.
good he had a good game. What was it? He had 10 Ks last game, I think.
Yeah. See, the
Robbie
strikeouts are
Ray.
up. He's just
So
allowing a lot of hard contact as well.
yeah, and it's like I was telling you. I mean, the offense that he plays in now. I mean, they're a good offense, but they're not Toronto offense. Toronto has a
Right.
bunch of great hitters. People that can hit for power. Guys that can hit for average. So I mean, that might be, one of the reasons why, he's kind of struggling. A different stadium. He, I don't know. I don't know how pitching works as far as um stadium. When you pitch different stadiums, if there's any difference. But
Or it could also be the ball, because it just
yeah,
doesn't feel comfortable in his hand.
yeah,
His ERA is kind of high; it's 4.22, but his expected ERA is actually 3.61, which it's actually in line with his expected ERA from last year. Even though he ended
right.
the season with a 2.84 ERA, his expected ERA last season was 3.60. So now his expected ERA this year, 3.61. It's exactly the same as it was last year. So he
Yeah,
seems to be like another benefactor of some bad luck. Let's see. Batting average against has been kind of high, but the expected batting average against is 252. So
mm,
that's not too bad. League average is about 246, so he's kind of like right there, right with league average.
yeah,
Um, his barrel percentage is actually down from last year. His barrel percentage against was 9.8 last year, and this year he's down to 7.7. So he's allowing less hard contact than he was last season. So really, I mean, looking at these underlying numbers, I don't really know what it is. I know his velocity is down a little bit. Last year, his fastball was about
yeah,
94. This year's 92. That actually is a really big difference, even though it's only 2 miles an
yeah,
hour. You can see 92 miles an hour a lot easier than you can see 94 miles an hour. And he hasn't thrown his sinker at all this year. Last year
right,
he threw a sinker a very, very small amount. It was a 0.2%. This year he hasn't thrown it at all.
yeah,
And yeah, it seems like his
yeah.
velocity's down on everything.
I think about it though. How many of us predicted that he would regress just a little bit? I know I did.
I think everybody. Yeah.
I know we were all pretty like, you know what? I don't think he can match what he did, Cy Young year.
Yeah.
So we knew there was gonna be some regression. But
One of the biggest things about Robbie Ray this year that I'm noticing now, his strikeout rate last year was 32%. That's amazing. That's
yeah,
elite level. This year
yeah,
so far, it's only at 23%. So it's a
yeah, it's a big dip.
9% less than it
Yeah,
was last season. His career strikeout rate is 29.4 compared to the 23.6 it is now. So I think, just give him a little bit of time.
yeah, yep,
Seattle is cold in the month of April, and that could be it. Also, we just need the weather to warm up a little bit, and these pitchers get stretched out. Just feel a little bit more comfortable.
yeah.
There was a
I
lot of
agree.
changes this year.
Yeah,
The DH was introduced in the National League, which when he plays National League teams now he has to face a DH as well.
hmm
The ball changed, and the weather. Like usually by this time, we're already having some warmer weather, 75, 80,
yeah,
in a lot
yeah,
of places. And I mean, you and I, both in the Philadelphia area, we've noticed that this April has been really cold.
yeah. It's weird.
It's kind of up and down. Like today was actually a really nice day, even though it rained. It was about 70 degrees, a little higher
Yeah,
than 70 degrees.
it
But
rained for like 10 minutes.
yeah,
I was
it
like,
was
what the
raining
hell is
really
this?
hard though for a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, yeah,
And then it just kind of stopped. I'm
yeah.
sick of this weather, man. I miss my
Dude, tell
California
me about it.
weather. I miss
I
my
know, man.
California sun.
Hell yeah. Get your tan on.
Yeah. Dude, I got so white after I moved here. Like I never realized like, wow, I can actually get this white? Like, geez.
You're like, holy shit, that's different, man. It's a little
Yeah.
different out here. Fucking weather.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a little time getting used to, but
Yeah,
it's all worth it. It's all for the family, right?
yeah, exactly, exactly.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into the 2-star pitchers. Did you get the list that I sent you earlier?
You know what I did? Hold on, let me make sure that I got two guys that are on that damn list. Shit, did I get the right one? Hmm.
So
Oh
most
yeah,
of the
yeah, I did get. Okay, I did get the right one. My bad.
a lot of the 2-star pitchers that are scheduled to start next week, we don't really have to talk about because most of them are owned in majority of leagues. I did break down the list as to which players were owned in less than 70% of leagues.
Yeah,
Did,
yeah,
did
I
you have
see.
one that kind of just like stands out to you that you think?
Yeah. Kuchiki.
Kikuchi?
Kuchiki. I think he's owned in. Yeah, Coochie. He's owned in 26% only. So I mean, if he's out there and you need a two-star pitcher, I think this next week is a perfect chance for him to kind of turn it around. He's been struggling. His ERA is up there,
Yeah.
4.15, I think. But he gets Seattle and he gets Cincinnati at home. Both games at home. I think this will be the week where he kind of turns it around.
If
Because we know
he,
we could do. You know, and then he has that offense behind him. Toronto.
yeah, exactly.
So I think this would be a great. If he's out there, I would scoop him up definitely, definitely scoop
If
him up.
uh, if he does bad against Cincinnati, I will just renounce him completely. Like I'm over him.
Yeah,
Cincinnati has like 5 wins in the entire season this year. They have
yeah,
like 5 wins and like 30 something losses. So if you are going to stream any pitchers, always look to stream a pitcher that's against Cincinnati. Are you looking
shit,
at your
yeah,
fantasy?
yeah, fucking a man.
Hey, shit
We
happens,
were just
dude.
talking
Shit
about
happens.
Cincinnati, and they just put up five runs on
No
five
way.
runs on the pitcher that I scooped up. But man, whatever.
Oh, I have Tyler Malley, so I'm on the
I do
opposite side of
too,
that.
bro. Shit.
All right, so you're saying you
Oh,
say
see, so you're
Kikuchi.
you're winning.
I'm going to talk a little bit about
Yeah,
uh, the guy that I mentioned earlier, Brad Keller, because Brad Keller is actually my guy that I'm choosing for the 2-start pitchers next week. Um, versus the White Sox and versus Minnesota. So both of them are in his home ballpark, which is great home field advantage. And he's been lights out this season. We mentioned with the 2.70 ERA, strikeouts are good. I don't really think there's anything left to say. I think that really is the guy that I would choose. You said Yusei Kikuchi, and I said Brad Keller. There's also another guy that is a little bit more owned, 62%. He has one really good matchup next week and a decent matchup that week, and that's our boy Tony Gonzalen. So Tony Gonzalen is he's owned in 62% of leagues. You know, most leagues, like 12 team leagues that start at least 5 starting pitchers, he's not going to be available. But if this guy is available, this is the type of guy that you need to pick up and you need to hold on to. So the Dodgers have held on to him for so long, and you know they see the potential in him and in Dustin May, you know, which is why the Dodgers keep on giving these guys shots like this. But I don't know. Versus Arizona is going to be great. At Philadelphia, we saw what they did to the Dodgers last night. We'll see how they play tonight. Oh, me and you are actually going to this game.
Yes, sir.
Tony Gonzalen at Philadelphia next week.
Yep. I think Wheeler's pitching for the Phillies that day.
Wheeler pitched. Oh, yeah, Wheeler pitched yesterday.
But I think he's gonna pitch on Sunday when we go.
Yeah,
I believe if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that should be right because he'll go Tuesday and then he should go Sunday again. As long as they don't have a day off in between. I'm not sure what the Philly schedule looks like. But
I got one more. I didn't see him on your list, and I could be wrong. But Wade Miley.
Oh, he's coming back, right?
Yeah, well, he came back already. He had a pretty shitty comeback. He only pitched 3 innings, 3 runs, 5 hits, and he walked 5. You know, cause for concern. I wouldn't say that. You know, he missed 5 weeks. You know, and it's elbow inflammation, I think, is why he was out. So, you know, Wade Miley pitched pretty good last season. He had a 3.37 ERA, and I think he pitched 163 innings. So he, you know, if he can right the ship, you know, he's got matchups against Pittsburgh and Arizona, and they're both at home. So that's not bad. That's not a bad way to kind of like, you know, get it going.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
that's a good way to build some confidence.
Yeah, exactly. That's you know why I mentioned that. And they're both at home, so he's gonna have the comfort of pitching at home. So this might actually help him out. You know what I mean?
So he had 5 walks, but it was at San Diego.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, that's a tough lineup.
It is a tough lineup. Even without Tatis, they still have a pretty good lineup. Jurickson Profar is doing better this year than anyone thought he would. Eric Hosmer is doing a lot better this year than anyone thought he would. Eric Hosmer is actually up there in ownership percentage. I think he's like in the 80s now. So he's doing really well. And dude, whoever picked up Eric Hosmer, I think they're living it up right now because, like we said earlier, like first basemen are really hard to come by. Yeah. So it's great to see at least there are some guys still, you know, doing their thing out there and you know, doing well. And I think Eric Hosmer, it seems like the guys that don't hit the ball that hard are the ones that are doing really well right now. The guys that hit the ball, you know, 100 miles an hour off the bat, those are the guys that are expecting to get a home run that used to be a home run, but now it's just falling in the outfielder's gloves. Yeah. But the guys that hit the ball closer to, you know, low 90s to mid 90s, those are the ones that are just line drives that are going over the infielders' heads and just landing on the grass, so their batting average is up. That's exactly what we were talking about earlier. I think small ball is kind of the way to go, at least right now. And we do see some hitters adjusting. It really sucks for the guys that play into that launch angle type of thing, which is why I think Cody Bellinger is still struggling a lot, because I think Cody Bellinger's launch angle, it's so high. He golfs that thing every single time. And it's like you can't do that every single time. I feel like he needs to make that adjustment where he needs to swing more on a plane rather than swing up.
Yeah, I
And
agree. I agree.
there's a lot of hitters out there like that. If you're Giancarlo Stanton and you're hitting the ball 115 miles an hour every time you hit the ball, then whatever, do your thing, because you play in Yankee Stadium, you're going to hit a home run, every 5 at bats if you make contact. But when you're playing in Dodger Stadium, that's more of a pitcher's ballpark, and the ball doesn't fly as well, and the fence is a little bit farther back. Playing in Yankee Stadium is like playing in a little league stadium, especially for left-handed hitters. They hit the ball. Like, that's why we saw DJ LeMahieu actually thrive in New York. Everyone was like, "Oh, he's not going to have the Coors Field effect anymore, going to New York." But yeah, he didn't need it.
Exactly.
The short fence. It's just it's playing into his style of play, where he just tries to make solid contact on the ball. And I think that's where it's at, man. I think that's what all these hitters that are struggling really need to do. So I think we're out of time. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, just though, for those that are watching, hopefully these guys that we told you, to go and pick up if they're available, scoop them up if your team is struggling. Definitely look into them. But that's pretty much it for me, man.
All right, cool. Well, if you guys have any questions, you can contact us at realtalkbaseball@yahoo.com. You can go to our Instagram, Real Talk Baseball, our Facebook, Real Talk Fantasy Baseball, or our Twitter, R Talk Baseball, R Talk Baseball, just the letter R, and TikTok, Real Talk Baseball. So for Javi, Carlos, Tony, and myself, Will Power, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time. Have a good night.
Peace.